All right, guys. Good afternoon to everybody, or whatever time you happen to watch this, whatever time it is to you. Greetings. For me, it's about 2:15 in the afternoon. I wanted to say hi to everybody, and I wanted to welcome you to the first product demo that I'm doing for the world. I'm here today with Paul at Merchant Spring, and he is going to show me the software that he has developed, which basically helps with analytics for Amazon and helps us figure out what to do with all the metrics and how to move it into a more cohesive place so we can take action. I know Paul for quite a while now. We've known each other virtually. We've met in person at a couple of high-level conferences. And although he's based on the other side of the world in Australia, he doesn't take away from the quality of his work or his ability to communicate nicely. Paul, thanks for doing this with me. I'm looking forward to seeing what Merchant Spring can do.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Abe. It's good to reconnect. As you mentioned, I'm somewhere else. I am in Australia, so I'm actually dialing into this show from the future. So, and the future is not bright; it is raining outside as we speak. But other than that, I'm looking forward to chatting more.
So tell me, I guess we're going to do a product demo today in which you're going to show me what Merchant Spring does. But maybe before we start that, can you tell me a little bit about what it does before you show me what it does? From based on the conversations we've had and the little bit that I've looked at it off board, it is a place where there are some great dashboards and a lot of data is presented nicely. And as I understand it, your main focus is on agencies using the software, or maybe alternatively to agencies, we might say sellers who have multiple accounts, which is a pretty common situation. Being able to get a good company snapshot all in one place is going to be useful. Being able to pivot between different companies and views is going to be useful. And I guess even sellers of scale will be able to get use out of this as well. Would you say that's right?
Yeah, that's right. Most of our customers are agencies and aggregators. So we have about 150 of those, largely in Europe and in North America. I'm really in the wrong continent here, but I'm stuck. And the reason for that is that as you manage a portfolio of channels across currencies, countries, and even platforms, things become disproportionately complex. And it's around how do you manage that complexity? How do you see everything together? How do you quickly prioritize and save yourself a lot of time in the process? That's where we play, and that's where our sweet spot is. But the converse is also true. So if you're only having I often say to clients, if you're running, say, fewer than 7 or 8 channels, I'd point you towards Jungle Scout or Helium 10 or some of the other tools out there. I think they're really good fit for purpose if you're at that scale. Anything above that, I think we do a really good job in terms of distilling down that complexity.
Well, let me ask you a question related to that. The first question is, do you handle all of the Amazon global marketplaces? And if so, would it be fair to say that because you handle all of the different Amazon marketplaces, that actually makes you useful to any decent sized seller? Because all those different marketplaces really require their own different analysis plus analysis as a whole.
Yeah. Yeah, so in terms of marketplaces, we support all of Amazon globally, including Belgium, for example, just launched. The big ones and some really small ones. We also, in addition to that, we support another 120 other marketplaces. That includes Walmart, drawing a blank here, Mercado Libre we're building, Target not yet, but we're looking for agencies to work with us on that connector. Yeah, lots in Europe. And then we also cover things like Shopify, WooCommerce, and of course, Amazon Vendor as well. So technically not a marketplace, but another channel that you can plug in as well. So
Amazon Vendor is important. I have clients who are wholesalers, and they'll work with multiple brands. And some of the brands they work with on the vendor side, some of them work on the 3P side, depending on what that brand wants for its fulfillment and its relationship with Amazon. So that also it seems like an opportunity there for Merchant Spring to work well with them.
Yeah, and the concept of hybrid accounts is very common, as you know. Being able to see both is very, very useful. Actually, the vendor space, themselves is really been an underserved segment, both from a tools point of view, but even from an Amazon. Very little investment in that space in terms of tools and infrastructure from Amazon itself until about a year ago, and they've started to move. But there's still a really big gap in terms of what's available and what's out there.
Yeah, it's interesting. I have my own circle and world of people that I speak to, and I'm always trying to understand more about what everybody does. And whenever I speak to the people that work with Vendor Central, it seems to be a horrible, clunky mess. and a lot of their work is trying to pull data from places and sort it into something resembling decency. And a lot of it, I imagine this isn't part of what you work with, but a lot of when it comes to resolving issues is just try the same case 11 times. And they just live a world of retrying cases that on the 3P side would have been handled once and quickly.
I think a lot of it is just about misunderstanding and how things work on the vendor platform. But you're right, particularly when you get into really painful topics like chargebacks and those sorts of things. Yeah, it's just, I mean, this whole business is now set up just to deal with that on the Amazon vendor side because it's so painful and so repetitive. But because it's vendor and the volumes are much larger, the dollars associated with those issues are significant. Really
exactly. More money, more problems, as a famous thespian once said.
Yeah, that's for sure.
All right, let's get to it. So show me what you got.
Yeah. Here we go. So let me just show you what you're looking at. First of all, as I mentioned, so Merchant Spring connects to all of these different platforms, right? And the way we connect is we sort of are an approved partner with all of these marketplaces. So we obtain things via API programmatically. We don't scrape any data. It's all kind of kosher in that sense, and we abide by their policies. Once you connect all of these, and I've just got a small example here in this demo data, we bring everything together on a dashboard, right? So as an agency, why this is interesting is it allows you to very quickly understand how is my agency performing as a total. So for example, I've got here last 12 months, but I might just say, okay, let's look at the last 30 days. How is my agency performing? Overall, I'm in a good space. But where are the ups and downs, right? So if I drill down into, and I'm sure it's going to tell me all the clients are doing well. I've got an eBay store here that, as you can see, that's down. So the ability to very quickly get into, okay, total portfolio, overall I'm happy, but if I disaggregate it and drill down, where do I have to spend my time, energy, and effort? This is a good example here. Everything looks great except this particular client. So this client here, for those of you that are agency owners, you're probably going to get a call from this person later today screaming at you as to why their sales are down 80%. So it's about, okay, we know that's happening. Let's put a plan together. Let's get in front of that.
So by default, we're looking at it's down 79% in the past 30 days, right? If I look at that top right corner, it said that it was past 30 days. So we're looking at past 30 days compared to the 30 days previous, right?
Yeah, correct. But of course, this is
that's really bad. That's really bad because we included Black Friday and Cyber Monday. So
of course, you can see, you can do any other comparison versus last year. Pick any. Like a lot of the comparison that's been very popular is, how did the second Prime Day this year compare to the first Prime Day this year? Who was up, who was down, and at the product level, where were the differences? So there's a lot of flexibility to select time periods.
Just to be clear, because this is actually something very unique. Are you saying that I can pick both time periods and it's not just I pick the first period and it's the same previous period? So traditionally, if I pick last 30 days, it's comparing to the 30 days before. Or if I pick a certain 10-day span, it's comparing it immediately to the previous 10-day span, or year to date versus whatever. But you're saying here that I can pick a 10-day period and compare it to a completely different period that I define. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's completely flexible. In fact, if you want to, you can compare a 9-day period to a 10-day period. They don't even have to match in terms of days.
And they can be different years. They can be different months.
Yeah.
Can they be compared to overlaps? I don't know what the use case would be, but can the two periods contain some of the same days?
Yes. Yeah, they can. Put the comparison period into the future, or that the actual period and the comparison period are actually one comes first and the other comes later. So you can see, right, what's happening to products that were your top seller, say, last Prime Day, how have they fared this Prime Day as a sort of forward projection point of view?
Yeah,
it's really flexible.
That is actually excellent. And like I said, most don't give you comparison periods, which would be different. They just give you the first period and they pick the second one. So, all right, great.
Yeah. So now, and of course, what's interesting here is I'm now looking at a reporting currency here in US dollars, and I'm looking at through time zone lens, right? PST. I'm taking the way Amazon in the US looks at things, but I'm aggregating all of my information across currencies, channels, and time zones, all in one place. The other thing that we do, obviously, from an agency point of view, there's different facets of performance. I always think about, it's a little bit like the Rubik's Cube. You can't just get one side right. You kind of have to get everything right. So that means, of course, sales is important, but then there are other aspects like advertising performance, profitability, making sure your clients actually are generating cash at the end of the day. Otherwise, it's just a vanity exercise. And then we're getting into things like, some of the non-financial metrics like seller health, right? Let's make sure that our seller health on Amazon is strong. And let's make sure that if there are any issues, we're across it straight away. Top hitters, this is one of my favorite ones here. Like, it seems really simple, right? But our number 3 product across our entire agency has run out of stock. That's going to be a big issue. That's going to represent a material headwind in terms of my ability to generate sales going forward.
So just a quick question. These screens are basically for whatever storefronts or marketplaces you've selected, right?
Correct.
Now, a question that connects to that is, in the place where you select the marketplaces or storefronts to view, can I select however many or whatever combination I want?
Yeah.
Can I select it's not all or one, right? I can select in between that. Like say I wanted everybody in the cell phone category. I would just drop down and pick my 9 different cell phone storefronts, and I'd get a picture of the cell phone space or the picture of the beauty space as it pertains to me.
Yeah. Look, I think that's a great use case. We have this concept of tags. So in our account section, you can tag every single channel, and you can apply multiple tags. And the reason this is interesting is you can, as you were already alluding to, you can assign a category tag. You can also assign a client tag. So if you're one client who's selling, say, across Amazon US, Walmart, and say Amazon in the UK, you can tag all those 3 channels to create an aggregated view for just that client. Or many agencies have account management teams, different account managers responsible for different
Bob's accounts versus Joe's accounts, and he'll be able to pull up Bob's tag versus Joe's tag.
That's right. So you'll be able to filter here and say, look, I don't know.
I want to see how either Bob will be able to see his own accounts, or somebody above the whole team will be able to isolate performance by person.
Correct. Here's the example here. I've got Sarah, who's the account manager, and she's looking after 3 stores, right? It's obviously a fictitious example, but this whole dashboard is now sliced and diced just for that particular filter.
Got it. So connected to that is 2 questions. The first question is there a set of default tags that I can just apply to things? And connected to that, is there any limit of the number of tags I can make?
So there's no limit in terms of the actual number of tags, but you can apply up to 9 different tags to each channel. So you can sort of categorize each channel in 9 different ways. If you find you need more, please let me know. But I haven't seen many use cases where it sort of goes above 3 or 4, but there's a lot of flexibility out there.
Yeah, it's you're inevitably, as soon as we brought this up, there's going to be somebody that wants a 10th,
Yeah, sure. Well, look, technically, I used to work with this manager about 30 years ago, and he said, when you're working in technology, the answer is never no, right? Anything can be done. It's just a matter of time and money, right?
Right.
And I'm pretty sure that neither of them are significant if someone does insist on going to a double digit on the number of tags.
Got it. Okay, good to know. I can immediately envision several different types of tags. I mean, I can envision a category tag, like I said, beauty or housewares or something.
Yeah.
I can envision a tag for the person assigned to it. I can envision a tag for one layer up, the person that manages a group of people. So there are all different. Again, we can probably come up with tons of them, but definitely imagination here doesn't need a big stretch to get to lots of tags.
Yeah, for sure.
Even from a client basis, or from even from an agency basis, or from an aggregator basis. Besides those tags, I can imagine accounts that need more attention or less attention would get their own tags. So, or even ones which launch a lot of products versus ones which are relatively stable, things like that you might want to pull up.
Yeah, you're right. Some of our customers have sort of a different service framework for different clients. One of them are sort of full service, checking in every day. Others might be, hey, we're just doing a monthly check-in, and it's more of a consulting type of approach. So be able to segment along service lines is another interesting.
Right. So it might be like full management versus our PPC clients, as an example.
Yeah.
So I want to pull up the metrics, and if I have to imagine that the PPC clients might either do better or worse. Better because they only focus on PPC, worse because they don't get to affect the things which help PPC along. So one way or another, PPC as a group might be different than full management as a group.
Yeah, that's right.
Perfect. Two other questions. The first question is where it says "Good morning, Paul." Can I change what it says over there?
Well, it should pick up the time zone. So if you log in, it should at least say "Good evening, Abe," or "Good afternoon," depending on your time. Cool. That's our AI algorithm. Not very deep, as you can imagine, but that's it should adjust automatically to where you are and who you are.
Can I get it to say "Good morning, Abe, you are awesome," or "Good afternoon"?
I'm very sure we can make that happen. We can even probably work something in terms of customizing your good morning messages to your account managers as they log in with their own credentials. I'm sure we can work something.
All right.
Be good to.
Very good. All right. The other question I'll ask is, and I don't even know if it's relevant or not, depending on who uses this, but is the Merchant Spring logo on the top corner set? For some softwares, which are agency-focused softwares, people can put their own logos in the top.
Yeah, sure. I would say, so of the 150 clients that work with us, I think there's about 5 clients that will use Merchant Spring. So everyone else, because we're in the agency and enterprise space there, we've invested pretty heavily in white label capability. So that starts with on one end of the spectrum, I'm just loading that for you now, is just logo replacement. As you can see, I've just put a little logo there, fictitious one. And that means the logo shows throughout the reports. It shows throughout the PDFs we generate. We can, we'll go into that later. That's step one. Step two is we can rebrand the whole application to match your fonts, color schemes, look and feel. From there, we can even host the whole application on your own domain. So we're certainly finding that the larger agencies will reskin the application to make it look like it's their own, hosted on, might be app.amzagency.com. So we have all of that flexibility, and that a lot of that comes standard with our agency plans.
Okay. So the question connected to that, or the question that follows that, is this an application or a software which is intended that I can show different visibilities to different people? So if I want to have a client, which I give them their own dashboard to see things, I'd be able to do that?
Yes. Yeah. So we have this construct of multi-user roles built inside the application. So typically there will be someone like the agency owner, administrators who have full access, internal roles, these are for account manager roles where you want to restrict what they see and what they can do. And then, of course, we have client roles. So clients can log in to a little portal that's branded yours. They can see their performance only. And then within that, we also have the ability to give them either a full version if they want to see everything, or a light or dumbed down version of the platform to show them kind of the essentials only.
And I can make it view only for them, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Perfect.
Now, most of the data here is view only. We're probably obviously reporting and analytics. So, there's very little you can do inside the application to actually make changes and push it back to the platform.
Okay, perfect. So the true purpose of the software is reporting, and you've stayed mostly true to that, I guess. I know that one thing that happens with other reporting platforms is inevitably feature creep turns into, we can do more things, including changing things. But you're staying true to reporting and insights.
That's, and predominantly to help you. Our main use case is really for agencies. It's to make you look good in front of your clients, but also to save, internally account managers or brand managers.
That's my hairdresser's job, is to make me look good in front of the clients.
Fair enough. The other thing here is actually just a time saver, right? So if you are an account manager in an agency and you're looking after a whole range of seller accounts or vendor accounts across different geographies, just managing that, logging into Seller Central, Vendor Central, downloading data, merging things, trying to get to the so what, very time consuming, right? So it's a great time saver too.
Perfect. Okay.
So in terms of, we were just looking at the cockpit there, right? That's the agency cockpit. But when there's actually a lot of data that's surfacing inside the application here. So I'm just loading that now. As you can see, I am now in one particular Amazon store. Again, time ranges and currency completely flexible. And everything I see here relates to that particular store. Right, so I've got this dashboard here, and then a series of reports covering everything from traffic and conversion to sales insights, profit, buy box, operations, and marketing. So what we really try and do is try to put everything that you want to look at as an account manager at your fingertips to work out, okay, is there anything we need to focus on or address, or where are the opportunities for improvement?
Cool. When you mentioned the USD on top of the currency, but I take it by default, it's the currency of the place we're looking, right?
Yeah.
And we might want to change it to, if we're looking at it in a place which is not our own, we might want to change it to our own. So say if I'm
Correct.
US based and we're talking about a UK account, I might want to change it to US dollars just for some sort of conversion purpose.
Correct.
But by default, it's going to be native.
Everything is stored in the local currency inside our database. We're just converting it for visualization purposes.
And this is an overview of only one channel at a time, right? So if
Correct.
you're looking at multiple channels that cross across different currencies, this isn't going to be relevant because it is just for that channel. It doesn't have to pick a currency because it'll never be two different channels in one spot.
Correct. But on the dashboard we looked before, obviously, if you're trying to sum things up across countries, you do have to pick one. We can't be adding Canadian dollars to US dollars, right? So you have to pick what is the reporting currency. So at that point, we convert all of the base data in local currency at the daily average exchange rate back into a reporting currency.
Oh, so it's not just a unit trend, the currency trend, like whatever, if it's a Canadian loonie or whatever they call the money in Canada, it's not just more of those or less of those. It's actually converting it with exchange rates into what we see.
Yeah. So for example, just going back here, as you can see here, I'm from a reporting point of view, I'm looking at everything in US dollars. So that means I can add up across these numbers and I can create a total here in US dollars. But clearly some of these stores, so this is an Australian eBay store, the underlying data is in Australian dollars.
Right. So it's not $138,000 Australian. It might be a completely different number. It might be 178 or 246,000 or something Australian, but US, it's converted to 138K with currency.
That's correct.
That's interesting because I actually, for me personally at least, I prefer to see what the dollars are in each of those currencies because that's more intuitive. Is there a way to just add up whatever the currencies are and call it something different?
Maybe.
Am I saying the question right?
Yeah, no, I think I know what you mean. I'm trying to add numbers up here to give you a total business view, which kind of forces me down I need to convert currencies because some of these currencies get really odd, right? So maybe Canadian dollars,
$1 trillion, right? It might be $1 trillion Zimbabwe dollars or something.
Yeah, when you're looking at like a Japanese Amazon store in Japan and you're talking about yen,
you drop
all of a sudden you got a lot of zeros and then it becomes meaningless. So you do want to kind of look at things in the right way.
It's an interesting thing to consider. I don't have that concern when I'm looking across things, but I imagine that some people might want to know that it's whatever that currency is to look at it.
Yeah, and one of the ways, obviously, so for example, I can just hit Aussie dollars, and this whole dashboard just regenerates in Australian dollars now. So that's the actual currency of the actual store.
Got it.
Right. So if they go into the back end of Seller Central here in Australia, that's the number that they would recognize.
Perfect. Okay. Very good.
So here we're looking at, a whole range of reports, and I don't want to turn this into an 8-hour interview, obviously, but there's a lot there. Some of the new features I might, if you ask me, well, what are agencies like the most? There's probably a couple of things I'd pick out. Traffic and conversion. I've been waiting for this literally for years, right? I love this stuff, probably because I'm a little bit of a data geek. Finally, we can actually pull it out from the business performance reports programmatically, legitimately, which allows us to track, not just kind of trends at an aggregate level, but also looking at a particular product level. And the reason this is interesting is, you can track if you made any optimizations to a particular listing. You can see, okay, am I seeing a bump in page views or conversion rate? But the other thing that's useful here is the ability to sort of benchmark your listings and trying to work out, okay, if my content team is going to optimize a couple of listings today, how do we prioritize a set of listings? And we may well say, actually, I want to look at the top 10 products with page views, and then I want to look at the ASIN with sort of below average conversion, like this one, for example, 1.9 versus our account average of 7.5. So we may want to take that one and say, look, we're going to spend a couple of hours, optimizing that particular ASIN for on-page conversion, because the dollars might be quite material if we do that. So, it's a good way of sort of framing how to prioritize.
But are these shown by parent or by child?
Right now I'm showing you by child, but these can also be done at a parent level here. So you can toggle.
Yeah, that's perfect. No, this is like super useful. I can definitely see how this will be very, very helpful data. And all I would need to do is, internally, is to overlay it with a calendar of changes that we implement and say, okay, we implemented this change, and here's what it did to things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And feel free to use this. We have a little note-taking widget here on the side, so you can sort of keep track of any changes or notes as you do that as well. Clearly, as you can see, my notes are not very detailed here, but you can.
No, but this is, I gotta say that this by itself, it seems like a widget. Like, I'm not sure how much thoughtfulness went into it, but it's absolutely super useful, because instead of me needing to keep my notes elsewhere, it's right in the place where I'll be able to look at a list of things we did. So that's excellent.
Cool. So the other area here that I personally love is our sales by product, or even just top sellers. Now, the reason I like this, because it's kind of straightforward, right? I'm seeing the top sellers, the sales, all that. Now, you can change all the time periods here to see how things are tracking. But what I like most is if you scroll to the side, actually getting a view of what are the headwinds I'm facing into. Right, so these products here, we've got top 5 products. Some of these, as you can see, I've lost a buy box. Some of them here, my days cover, 0.1 day. I'm going to run out in about now, right, on this particular product. So, and this one is a little bit higher, but still not enough. So starting to give you some visibility in terms of, okay, what are the issues? What are the headwinds? What's coming up there? So that you can be proactive and do something about it.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Is this customizable in terms of columns or no?
A little bit, yep. So there are some other columns here. I think I've selected most of them at the moment, but you can bring in some others here if you want to bring those in. And a lot of this you can download into Excel as well if you want to do some further manipulation.
That's fantastic. So it's customizable and it's downloadable.
Yeah.
Okay.
Talking about customizable, one of the areas that's really popular right now is this sales by group. Essentially what we're finding in places like Amazon and Walmart are not very good at giving you kind of useful groupings. By category or by brand usually doesn't make sense because there'll be some issues. And a lot of clients, they want to look at that data in their own way. One of our most popular features right now is this sort of sales by group concept. Really what that means is you can group products together in the way your client wants to see them, set up groups. For example, here I've got all 10 packs, 5 packs, or I've got FBA products versus FBM. You can track all of their metrics, but you can also measure their performance as a cohort over time. So, lots of different use cases here, but great for putting your products and reporting them in the way that your client likes to talk about them, as opposed to the way that Amazon likes to group.
That drop down that says 10 pack, 8, etc. What are the options in there?
The options here, so here we can just see whatever group we've selected. So we may say, I don't want to see all the groups right now. I just want to see all my FBA versus my FBM products.
So those are names of groups, basically.
Correct.
We can pick all of them. We can pick some of them, etc.
Correct.
And product groups, are there any limitations, or it's just like pick whatever products you want to be in a certain group?
Yeah, look, there are, you can have one product belonging to multiple groups, so they don't have to be mutually exclusive. Once you get to a big volume, I would recommend that you use our bulk upload feature. Creating them manually through this dialog window gets a little bit cumbersome. So, you do have the ability to just load up a whole spreadsheet, with thousands of rows straight into the system with group names. So that's an option too. I'd recommend that.
Yeah, I can immediately see the usefulness here. Like if I have a jewelry client, for example, I can group all of their necklaces in one place. I can group all of their earrings in another place. I can group all of their white gold versus stainless steel, etc. And there are different ways to split that up.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Very nice. We can group new launches, I guess, and we can group older products. We can group closeouts.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of our fashion customers will group like different sizes together, or there's different seasons in fashion.
Right.
trying to group those together, see how they're going, see if the sell-through rate is where it needs to be.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, a lot of use cases there.
Cool.
Look, a couple of other things here. We do have a lot of things around profitability. So switch this back to US dollars. So, we're fully integrated into Amazon's Finances API, which means we can generate a full profit and loss statement for you based on all the transactions that Amazon has put in your account. Looks something like that. We also allow you, and I haven't done this in this example, but we allow you to actually upload your own cost of your products so that you get a more accurate view of what your actual profit is going to be or is for a certain period of time. So do that at the channel level, but also at the product level. So we can show you, okay, what's your portfolio look like in terms of what products are profitable, unprofitable for a given time period. And then, we can do a lot of drill downs here in terms of the actual product as well. For example, I pick a product here and I can see, okay, the actual profit right there for this particular product, you can see it's quite significant. You can see that right there.
It's pulling in, of course, product costs, which we would add ourselves. It's automatically pulling in Amazon's fees. And I guess, is it segregating ad spend fees from Amazon's other fees? Am I able to split those out in my views?
Yeah, so advertising's there. Yeah, so it's all of your FBA fees, advertising fees, inventory reimbursements. It's a long list of about, I think about 75, 76.
Can it pull DSP data?
Not yet, but it's on our roadmap for early next year. We're just supporting sort of the standard Amazon PPC advertising console data, but we'll be adding DSP early next year.
Okay, perfect. Yeah,
both from a cost and a reporting point of view too.
Right. One of the big challenges we have, I had it literally 20 minutes before we spoke, is getting the DSP data and overlaying it with ad data and overlaying that with the top line data. So being able to pull those all into one space gives you a truer view of profitability.
Yeah, correct. Which is actually a nice segue into the marketing section, because what we do is pull everything together here, allowing you to see both in terms of what's your paid spend and sales versus organic. How does it all come together, and what does your overall metrics look like? Now, what's interesting is we've built this with the assumption of it was always like a one-to-one relationship. So you have a seller account and one advertising account that drives traffic. What we're finding increasingly now is obviously you have your advertising account, you have your DSP account. You may even have some social media driving paid traffic to your listing.
Right.
So it's a big focus for us in Q1 next year. How do we sort of start building that many-to-one relationship within our platform?
Is off Amazon traffic on the roadmap to be added here? Like, is money from Google Spend and Google Ads?
Yeah. So we're on our roadmap right now. It's DSP, Google, and then Facebook. Those are probably the top three. I wouldn't necessarily say Facebook is the number three. We may change that priority, but that's kind of what it is at the moment. Alongside of that, we're also building out native advertising connectors for other marketplaces like Walmart, Mercado Libre, and the like.
Got it. Interesting. Yeah, that's definitely going to be really important because those ad spends are part of the picture for sure.
The last thing, or I want to, if we have time, Eben, tell me if we run out of time. But I'd love to show you kind of two other things. The first one here is our reporting module. I always say a number of my agency customers literally ganged up on me and bullied me into giving this to them because it was such a pain for them in terms of time spent on this every single week or every single month. So what we can do now is we've tried to make it easy for them. So let's say I'm looking at that store before and I want to generate a monthly report. What I can do here, and I'm just starting from scratch, I can give it a name. I can say, look, I want this report to run every month. I want it to be when it runs based on the last month, and I want to compare it to, say, last year. I'm reporting US dollars, but I can do that in the local currency too. Time zone, pick any, but usually I pick the time zone that where the store is actually based. And then I've got the option of kind of making the report as big or as short as I'd like for that particular client. So, for example, I might say, okay, I want to give them a total overview. In fact, I want to start with traffic, right? So I'm going to start with some traffic data. Then I'm going to do the total business performance. Then I might do let's see, sales by group. We know those groups we looked at before, so I can report on that. I'll have a look at the top sellers. Let's look at seller health, and let's also look at the profitability, for example. Now, there is a widget in here as well, which is comments. I don't know if we have any comments in there, but remember I showed you that note little box that slides out. In there, you have the ability to write report comments as well. So there's two sections. There's like your own note-taking app, and then there is a commentary writing section. So you can write commentary in there as you look at the account through the course of the month, and we can then include that in our report. So
right. So we can make a report. So I might have a meeting with a client where they want me to increase spend by 25%. And right after I have that call, I'll be able to add a comment in that section, which says, as per call on December 10th, client wants to increase spend to $1,000 a month. And then when I generate this report and we see spend went to $1,000, right away, you're going to have also the note that says, hey, we had a phone call that said you wanted to increase spend to $1,000.
Correct.
One quick question. Can this report be scheduled to be emailed to me? Is that what will be happening?
Yes.
Okay.
Depending on, so we've selected monthly here, which means it's a scheduled report. You can also do it as a send it once.
Right.
So we've set it monthly. When I save this now, just want to make sure I include some groups here. When I save this report, at this point, I've just saved the configuration. That configuration is stored against this particular client. But if I scroll down, I now have the ability to email that report to myself or to my clients directly. That's really up to you. Again, I don't know why, but you can enter up to 9 email addresses here if you want to send it to a whole bunch of people.
Yeah, I mean, that was going to be the question, because many times different people are invested in the data of that report. So you might have the accounting department, might have marketing department, you might have an assistant. Again, imagination is your only limitation. Okay.
Correct.
So once you save that, it's automatically going to start generating the report according to the schedule that you've set.
Yeah.
Will it do a report initially as soon as you save it?
I think for this one, it does not. So this is just whenever the next occurrence is, it will send it out. But you can run this report as a one-off initially. And so you can see what it looks like, because I think that's probably what you're most interested in, right? To make sure it all looks good.
Yeah, I mean, I want to know that it all looks good / correct. And I also wonder what my metrics are at the moment. Like as soon as I set all these things, I want to know what it looks like right now.
Yeah. Well, it looks something like this. And I say something because it depends on your level of white label customization. Mm-hmm. But, here as the minimum level, as you can see, it comes up with your agency logo. And then the report is really comprised of the different, here so you can see some commentary right here. The report is then comprised of the charts and the widgets that we have selected as part of this client's report. So as you can see, they appear in the order that we've put them. Like that. Yeah, so this beautiful. Is the client gets a link to this URL. And obviously, if it's on your custom domain, it will have your domain in here. So they can see it in sort of more dynamic HTML format like that. Mm-hmm. But of course, they also have the option of downloading to PDF as well. So,
is there an option to send it as a PDF attachment?
At this point, there is not. So we're sending it as a HTML link with then the ability to download once they look at that.
My comment is that a lot of times I don't want to open up another tab. I'd rather just save the file.
It's another click away. Yeah, no, I understand. That's how it works at the moment.
Yeah, one thing I might say is that if you go to that other tab where we created the report, the only other thing is just because of like the way my brain works. If you scroll to the top of the page, I might say create a scheduled report or create a push report or something like that. Like as opposed to just creating a report, because technically it's not just a report. There's a little bit more there to it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a good build. Yeah, it's fair enough.
Again, it's minor. It doesn't affect anything to do with the functionality. But to me, like it would feel clearer.
Yeah. Well, it's those small things that actually are really easy to do that just clarifies things and makes the app. One of the benefits that we have over someone like a Helium 10, and although I really respect those guys, we only deal with like 150 customers, which means I get lots of valuable feedback, and I have some good discussions like this one that helps. I mean, you look at our platform like a year ago, and you'll see that the changes moved materially, right? I would say 99% of all the changes you've seen are actually just driven by our own clients asking for things, and obviously my job is to try and pick out what are the themes, how do we deliver most value to most of our customers and the like. But it's really great having the dialogue with a smaller set of customers that allows you to do that.
Yeah, I love it. So, I mean, everything that I've seen, my comments are just like sort of noise that I insert in there. But overall, I absolutely love this. I love the fact that there's a lot of clarity. I love the fact that the interface is very clean, but still gives a lot of data, which is not always the case. I've seen things that I need Advil afterwards. So this is very, very good. I like it.
Well, thanks, Abe. Let me finish off then with our last feature, which is hot off the press, which is our alerts and notification center. One of the things we've been hearing consistently from our users is to say, I want to be notified when adverse things happen to my account. I want to be notified, and I want to know before my client finds out. Right? As we were talking before the recording, I used to run an agency myself, and we had some, let's say, bad experiences where the client would find out about some of these things before we would, and it was rather embarrassing. So to help overcome that, what we've done is we've built an alert system, both in-app and via email, where we will notify you of some of the most adverse events. So for example, if your seller health is downgraded, if your listing is suppressed, if you lose the buy box, for example, or if you're about to run out of inventory. So we're sort of looking at all of those scenarios. Most of those can be configured at the product level. So if you're the seller that has thousands of products in their account, you don't want to put alerts on each one of those. Literally, we will kill you with email, but applying it to the top sellers might be useful, right? 90-10 or 80-20 certainly applies in e-commerce, and you want to make sure you've got your alerts set on the right ASINs as opposed to all of them. But yeah, once you do that, it generates, as you can see here, I've got 8 unresolved notifications now. I can see all of them in here, and I can pull up the detail in terms of, okay, what's the issue? What do I need to do? And then if I've resolved it, I can, create a bit of a tracker here as well. Very useful for agencies where once you've resolved it, it also puts a timestamp and the username there, so you can see who within your team has taken responsibility for solving that issue or not.
Oh, yeah.
So that's about 2 weeks old. So fairly hot off the press in terms of that particular feature.
Got it. And it gets emailed, plus it lives in a notification center, right?
Correct. And you can moderate like the frequency and volume of emails that you receive.
Yeah. Are the emails addresses listed to, limited to 9 there also?
No, actually, notifications occur at the user level. So let's say you've got 5 account managers and yourself who have access to the platform. You can set your own configuration for notifications, right? Because as a business owner, you may not want to get everything, but as an account manager who's looking for after 5 accounts, I want to get everything about those 5 accounts, but I don't want to get anything about the other 50.
The person who wants it, each one sets up their own configuration.
Correct.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
What else do you got? Or is there anything else?
I think there's a lot else. We haven't talked about review management. We haven't talked about some of the other reports that are in there, but I think you've got probably a relatively good overview in terms of what's feasible, what's possible.
Oh yeah. No, we have covered a lot, and I can't believe the timer that's running in the top corner, and that sort of flew by, which is great.
It's great to have the opportunity to actually sit down and go through it. I appreciate it. Right? It's really good. I think other users hopefully will benefit from this replay.
Yeah, my pleasure. I mean, listen, I like what I see. I'm happy to share it with my audience, and hopefully this type of my viewpoint in terms of what you've shown me might be insightful to people who are interested in it.
Yeah, it's been great. So thank you very much for the opportunity. I appreciate it. And thanks for your questions. And I'll get our tech team straight on to increasing those tags from 9 to 10.
I don't care about that. I just want the app to tell me I'm awesome when I log in. That's what's by far, that's what's most important for me.
It's done. It's
all right,
done.
Great. So for anybody who is interested in this software, is the correct place to go merchantspring.io?
Yeah, that's the right place. Or, feel free to email me if you've taken the time to watch all the way to the end of this episode.
They better.
You've earned the right to email me directly. So I think I've got it right at the bottom there. Instead of that slash, just put an @ sign there. So, Paul@merchantspring.io, and you'll get hold of me. So happy to chat and tell you more.
Awesome. Wherever I post this, I'll put the contact information also, for you and for the website. And listen, I think you have something which has a lot of value. That's absolutely true.
Thank you, Abe. Look forward to doing this one again in the future.
Yeah, part two can include the review coverage and all the rest of the things that are there.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Thanks,
All right.
man.
Thank you.
You got it.